you can get girls. Oh, I love girls. Ah! From the age of 18 to 21, so this would have been 2016 to 2018, I improved myself. In terms of like the sexual hierarchy at my uni, I probably went from like a 5 to a 9. I went from someone who was almost on the verge of being black-pilled to having pretty much complete sexual abundance. Now, disclaimer, I'm not saying that I'm a 9 now, I'm not saying that I'm a Chad now. I've fallen off since my peak in 2018. But just as I reached those heights back then, just as I improved my situation with women then, I think that I can do it again, and most importantly, I think that other guys can do the same. I think that most guys can improve their situation with women as radically as I did. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how you might go about doing that. So why do I want to make this video? I think that the blue pill has become spotted with black. What does that mean? That even the common man is starting to become dejected at the state of the dating marketplace. That even the common man is starting to see how inhospitable it is to most men. When I first found the RP, I had a couple of friends that weren't as convinced. They thought that a lot of the strategies espoused by RP creators were luxury beliefs, champagne beliefs, strategies for the privileged, strategies for those who already have abundance. They thought that they couldn't be overly discerning with choosing a partner. They couldn't spin plates. They couldn't maintain strict, ruthless boundaries with women. They couldn't be conservative or reserved with respects to how they give out their commitment to the women that they're seeing. They thought that all of these strategies were off limits to them because they were lucky to get one girl. They thought that because they were lucky to just get a single girl of reasonable quality, rather than being ruthless and discerning, abundant and dismissive, they had to do whatever they could in order to keep that girl of reasonable quality around. I'm not disagreeing with that as such, but one thing that perplexed me is that they spoke about their situation with women as if it was fixed, as if it was permanent and was unable to change. But I don't think that's the case. Most guys think that they are the Thing from Fantastic Four, the big, ugly, orange rock monster who has to wait around for a blind woman to love him. Because in the Fantastic Four comics, it's a blind woman that loves the Thing. She obviously sees past his appearance and loves him for who he is. But most guys aren't the Thing. Most guys are Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards. With enough will and enough ingenuity, they can mould themselves into any shape and get that hot piece of arse, Susan Storm. But as I say, a lot of guys that I know, and I think this applies to most men, they want that mythical 7.5 beautiful mid to call their own. And they're willing to do whatever it takes to get her, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to keep her around, even if that means selling their soul in order to do so. Most men would give up their hobbies, their dreams, and their boundaries in order to call this beautiful mid their wife, to have children with her, and to have sex with her 10 times a year. But I don't want to be overly judgmental because I myself was in that situation. I myself had that mindset. Some people might call it a scarcity mindset, but it could at the end of the day be an objective recognition of scarcity. But even if the scarcity is objective, I think that your situation with women can be improved. Fucking hell, that's loud. Someone's compensating. The reason why I think that getting on self-improvement and improving your situation with women is superior to basically settling and selling your soul, if it doesn't seem obvious, is because even if you show this level of commitment, devotion and adoration to this beautiful mid, if she smells the desperation on you, she's going to lose respect for you, especially if you give up your boundaries as well. She's going to lose attraction to you, and then it is a ticking time bomb to when she's going to divorce you, take away your children and make you pay alimony. It's just not a viable solution. And that's what I mean when I say that the blue pill has become spotted with black, is that our conventional dating norms have been imbued by a sense of cynicism, jadedness, and pessimism. The blue-pilled notions of devotion, commitment, and chivalry are less like ideals to strive towards and more like strategies employed in a desperate attempt to cling to whatever reasonably attractive girl that you can get your claws into. But as I say, I don't think it's a good strategy. If any guy who has swallowed the blue pill spotted with black needs to cough it up. And I'm not saying that you need to take any certain colour of pill. You just need to get on self-improvement and understand that you can improve yourself, you can transform drastically, and you can improve your situation with women in proportion to how much you improve. You can improve your situation with women in proportion to how much you improve yourself. And I'm going to take you on the journey of how I did so. So let's go all the way back to primary school. From a very young age, I was always interested in women. Even from like 4 years old, I was like obsessed with tits. I got my first girlfriend when I was 5, had another one at 7, and then almost like every year without fail, I would always try and go for like the hottest girl in the year. Like, it never worked, and I didn't really take the hint. I think when I was like 8, my best friend even said to me, like, of course you're not going to get this girl, like you've got goofy curly hair, you've got goofy teeth, you've got severe, terrible acne, you're overweight, blah blah blah. And like, I think I might have brushed it off at the time, and I didn't really internalize it. But when I went to secondary school, when I was about 12, 13, that actually changed. When I was in year 8, so like 12, 13 years old, I overheard a group of girls talking about who they thought like the top 5 ugliest guys in the year were, and I actually overheard them saying that like I was in or around the worst 5. And I might have like coped at the time and been like, oh yeah, no, what they were actually saying was that I was in the top 5 guys in the year. But I think subconsciously I did internalize it. And then what happened from there was that I adopted the meme, I adopted the fantasy of trying to find that one 7.5 girl, that one beautiful mid. And I would use every single textbook nice guy beta strategy to try and get them. Like, my first big crush at secondary school was a girl called Lucy, and I had a crush on her. I was borderline in love with her for like 4 years, and I never mustered the courage to talk to her in person. Like, I would get other people to like relay messages to her. I would use like pity and sympathy tactics to try and make people feel sorry for me so that they would try and convince her to go out with me. And then eventually when we started like DMing and stuff. But even then, I was such a yes man. I would just be so bashful. I would agree with everything that she said. I would just try and be this squeaky clean, super Mr. Nice guy. And then after a few years, when I was about 15, I messaged her and asked her permission as to come and speak with her in person, and she actually said no. Like, I would get bullied if I was seen talking with you in person. Like, I was crushed at the time. And then at that point, I had my first like serious bout of depression. And then after I got out of that, I was just I was just angry. And then this would actually foreshadow my my self-improvement that would come in years to come, because I started like lifting weights. It was just like a home dumbbell set. I was only 15. I started attending to my skin a little bit more. I started wearing contact lenses. I started getting a better hairstyle. And I also started obsessing over fictional characters that were confident and good with women. And I tried to like emulate them to some degree. But, you know, things changed a little bit, but they didn't change that much. I was still looking for that beautiful mid. I was still looking for that 7.5. And like, again and again, I would find a girl who fit that category. I would like, I wouldn't say half-heartedly go after her, but I would try the beta boy nice guy strategies. And again, I just got rejected and rejected by these beautiful mids. Like, when I was like 17, my confidence was at an all-time low, and I remember there was this one girl I had a crush on, and my best mate was sitting next to her, and he taps her on the shoulder and says, "Hey, Matt wants to speak with you." And like, I was just there like I didn't, like, my confidence was just shot to bits. I couldn't speak to girls. Then 3 things happened. So one, I get rejected by like the last beautiful mid. And it was like 5 to 6 bad rejections in like 2 years. I had sex with like, I lost my virginity to like a 2 or 3 out of 10. And then I overcorrected and I tried it on with like the girlfriend of the Chad of our year group. And because of those last 2 things, like I lost so much social status, I lost so much street cred, and like I was just at rock bottom at this point. I became a bit of a social hermit, and this in conjunction with all of the rejections and how low my confidence was, I just went monk mode. I focused on my grades, I smashed my exams, I got crazy grades, I got a scholarship to go to uni. And then the summer before uni, I got in reasonably good shape. So I had rebuilt my confidence to some degree. And I was at a point where I was pulling like 4s and 5s pretty easily, but that mythical 7.5, that mythical beautiful mid still eluded me. In my first year of uni, I found out that my dad was planning to leave my mum. I basically developed PTSD. I developed semi-alcoholism. Put on loads of weight, stopped looking after myself, stopped working out, and hit rock bottom. Then I stopped drinking, I started to lose weight, and then I entered my second year of uni. One thing I noted in my second year of uni was that because I started to go onto campus more, and campus was just becoming more vibrant in general, is that my uni was a buffet of hot girls, like a buffet of 8s and 9s. And I always had this sense of like, I can never get these girls. So I was still on the lookout for this mythical 7.5 beautiful mid. And I actually found one. I didn't get her. She liked me at first, but as soon as I developed a crush, I just reverted back to the beta nice guy strategies. Like I just started to become overly bashful. I just started to act like a complete beta, like low testosterone, became a yes man. I would like try and act like one of the girls when I was around her. And actually sometimes I would overcorrect, and rather than being overly nice, I would just be like just a bit of a dickhead, to be honest, but not in a rizzy or charismatic or flirty way at all. Like just being obnoxious. So this didn't work. I took her on a date, there was no real connection, and she ended up getting with another guy. And around this time, I remember having like quite a memorable experience. I was sat in the city that my uni was in, and I was sat in like a cafe or a pasty shop, and I was looking out at the crowd of people coming up and down the high street, and there were so many girls. And I remember thinking to myself, so many of the girls, most of the girls that I see are off limits to me. I can't get them. And it was the closest that I'd ever gotten to becoming black-pilled. And I remember feeling down about myself, but I don't know what it was, but I think that something inside of me was just like, no, let's keep going, let's keep trying. Let's not take the black pill just yet. And then I started to go to the gym. I was lifting weights, doing lots of compounds, and then I actually, like, a new crop of people started at my job, my part-time job, and like I actually made an effort to like make a good first impression, and I managed to land one of the girls in that crop of new employees. And maybe it was because I had been working out for a few weeks at that point. My face was leaner. She was actually she actually looked at me and was like, "Yeah, you're actually quite good looking." So that was the first 2 things that happened. Started lifting weights, pulled a girl, she gave me a genuinely sincere compliment, and then a third thing happened, which was I found like an inspiration to kind of mold myself on. Like, it's now come out that he's a bit of a wrong'un, but I saw a show called Celebs Go Dating, and on there was a guy called Stephen Bear, and I could not believe how confident he was with girls. And as soon as I saw him on TV, I was like, I want to try and be like him. I want to have that level of confidence with girls. And then those 3 things combined led to a complete 180 of the experience that I had when I was in that pasty shop. I looked at myself in the mirror, I looked myself in the eye and said, I'm going to become someone who can get any girl. I might not be able to do that now, but I will become that. I will be able to get any girl. I just need to improve myself. So then I started quite a rigorous regimen. For the next 6 months, I lifted weights. I lifted weights 4 times a week, all of the major exercises. I did an upper-lower split, 2 upper, 2 lower. The lower body workout was literally just 5 sets of deadlifts, 5 sets of squats. Sometimes I did cardio, sometimes I did abs. And then the upper body workouts were 3 sets of like shoulder press, bench press, bicep curls, dips, chin-ups, and I think that might have been it. Then I controlled my diet a little bit. I went from sugary cereals to like Weetabix and fruit, or maybe porridge and fruit. I started to have wraps for lunch, and then dinner would literally, I think for dinner I'd mostly have like chicken pasta with like tomato sauce, like passata, chopped tomatoes. I started to pay a bit more attention to my fashion sense. Like I would make sure that I always had a fade. Clothes wise, I would wear like slim fit, even though I wasn't that lean, I would wear slim fit t-shirts with spandex material, and I'd wear like slim fit or skinny fit jeans, and like a cheap but nice-ish pair of trainers. I would go out of my way to improve my social skills and try to like interact with as many people as possible, just to sharpen the sword. I started doing NoFap a little bit, not even that much, like try and go a few days at a time every so often. And I actually only started that because I had ED. I went out more, I socialised more, I tried to interact with as many girls as possible. I grew my facial hair out, not as much as I did now, but I went from no facial hair to growing out like this, and I think I'd get like a barber to style it, or at the very least I grew it out at that point. And then the last thing was, just as I obsessed over fictional characters in school that were confident and good with women, I now obsessed over like real people that were confident and good with women, and I tried to emulate them as much as possible, especially Stephen Bear. And even in those 6 months with the self-improvement program I had, which wasn't even that good, I went from the guy in the pasty shop that thought that most women were off limits to him, who thought that the 8s and 9s at his uni were way out of his league, to thinking that these 7.5s, beautiful mids and 8s were beneath me. Like it was genuinely that radical of a change in just 6 months or less. So yeah, that was the first 6 months. Weight training, diet, social skills, interacting with girls, trying to emulate people that were confident with women, facial hair, fashion. And it wasn't even that drastic of an improvement process. It wasn't even that meticulous. And then I kept going with it for another 6 months. Weight wise, I think I had like, I did a little cut with whole body workouts for a couple of weeks. Then I did a big bulk bro split, and then I started to do more functional training to cut down, and I did that for a good few months. And I wound up going from like 19 stone to like 265 pounds, all the way down to 220 pounds in just a few months. I bought a couple of new outfits, like a couple of bomber jackets, stuff like that. And then after just a year on self-improvement, I was pulling like 7s and 8s near enough every time I went to the club. I'd say I was pulling 7s almost every time, and the 8s I was like getting like numbers and links of. Then for another 6 months, I trimmed down even more. I trimmed down to 180, 190 pounds. I started to take more risks with fashion. I started to buy some like outrageous outfits. Like my notorious outfit at uni was like a Nike Air jumper, Ralph Lauren pajama bottoms, and like Air Max trainers. I grew out my beard, so I didn't just have a mustache. I started to pay a bit more attention to my hair. I got tanned, literally because I was trying to lose weight so much. I was walking in the sun all the time, and I got quite brown. And I took like the lad charisma that I developed from emulating Stephen Bear, and like integrated more of like myself into it, some more like spiritual Russell Brand, like creative aspects. And then once I trimmed down, I actually beefed up a little bit. I put on some muscle mass. So after 18 months, I had this outrageous fashion sense. I always had a good fade going. I was like 220 pounds, 210, 220 pounds, but way leaner. And I had this like masculine wavy vibe. And at this point, the 18-month mark, I had complete sexual abundance. I was at a point where after every night out, I was waking up to texts from girls. Like every night out, I was getting like a solid, attractive, like long-term link. And not to sound like fucking narcissistic, but when I was walking around my campus, I actually had girls like gawking at me, staring at me. And I just felt abundant. Like, I would get a text from a girl and it wouldn't even register. Like, if I was completing a task and a girl texted me, even a fit one, there was zero dopamine spike, zero. It wouldn't register as anything significant in my head. Like, so much opportunity with women was flowing in that there, like I said, there was no dopamine spike. It wasn't registering as significant. And I just felt permanently satiated. It was just a weird experience. That is what abundance feels like. And your confidence is so high that you take more risks. Like, I would text outrageous stuff with girls, and that would get you more girls because they loved how confident and weird you were. So that was pretty much my journey. Before I started, I had sex with like 3 girls in 3 years. After 6 months, I had sex. I think I had sex with like 2 girls in 6 months. After a year of self-improvement, I think I had sex with like I had sex with like 4 to 5 girls in 6 to 8 weeks, and then 10 in over the course of a year. And then after 18 months, I had sex with like 3 to 4 girls in a week, and got a girlfriend that week. I met her on Tuesday, and then was already with her by Friday. You know, that was a bit of a whirlwind. That's another story. But all I'm trying to say is that I radically improved my situation with women. And I think you can too. And it started with the basics: weightlifting, diet, fashion, social skills, which was mainly just the accumulation of experience in the social domain, talking to more girls, trying to emulate people that are already confident and successful with women, and trying to integrate aspects of them into you, aspects that might be dormant within your psyche already, and then also paying a little bit more attention to like fashion and grooming, and literally just being consistent across those facets changed my life completely. I went from someone who had complete scarcity to someone who had complete abundance. And even though I've declined from my peak then, like I said, I'm going to get back, but even though I've declined from my peak then, that abundance has stuck with me. That sense of what I can achieve has stuck with me, and I don't know if I'll ever lose it. Maybe in a future video I'll go into more meticulous detail about what I improved, and maybe do a guide about what you can improve exactly and when, and the process to follow. But I just wanted to give a rough explanation of the process of how I went from someone with a complete scarcity mindset to a complete abundance mindset. Or rather, someone who went from complete scarcity to complete abundance in objective reality. And I think that most guys can have can have a comparatively radical transformation. And that's why it pains me to see the blue pill spotted with black. And that is why we must defeat it. We must get more guys onto self-improvement. Right, I'm going to stop philosophizing because I feel like I'm just talking shit at the moment. Hopefully you took some value from this video. Fucking hell, I've got a spot, I'm going to deal with that. Right, subscribe to the channel, give me some feedback. I like constructive criticism, and just tell me how fucking great I am. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, wankers, and I'll see you on the next one.